Hello, heroes! Wake up, everybody! It's Sunday. It's time for Zeros on Heroes Collateral Benefit. My name is Mike Mercadal. With me, as always, is
Will the Thrill Watkins.
Will the Thrill Watkins. Mike the Bike. No. Mike the Spike? What is a good Mike one?
Man, you got a couple slurs that rhyme with your name.
Yes,
but
yeah.
none of them apply?
It's one of very very few slurs apply to me like in that rhyme with my name. But yeah, hey everybody, welcome to Zeros on Heroes. That's this podcast feed. That's the channel you're on, and this is the show Collateral Benefit, where we seek to redefine our connection with gym culture and fitness, with the world of fitness influence and all kinds of what we
Happy,
believe to be
optimistic.
what we believe to be incorrect messaging about what it is to seek to improve your body. And then we found that in our efforts to improve our body, we improve our mind with a collateral benefit. And when you improve your body and your mind, you kind of default to improve the way you interact with the people around you. If you're not like sad all the time, you're kind of a better like time to hang out with, like you're more enjoyable to be around.
Yeah.
if you're constantly trying to make yourself better, you're kind of trying to make the world around you better too. And that's a kind of an addictive thing. We enjoy that, and we see it in gym culture. And we grew up in an era that gym culture was defined in a very negative way, or seen as very othering of people, and that's just not the case. So we're here to set the record straight, and also just hang out. Will and I would be doing this if no one was watching, because we enjoy it. We enjoy talking about this sort of stuff, and we're friends.
We're a couple of bi-coastal buddies. Just
bi-coastal buddies. We're bi-curious.
That's when I'm like, when I ask how are the fires in LA, and you're like, hey, how's the winter in New York? That's us being bi-curious.
That's what bi-curious means, right?
That's what it means, right?
Yeah, that's what that means. The idea, first of all, I just want to say the windows are open because it's raining outside. LA finally got some rain, put out some fires. I'm imagining in Lord of the Rings when the tree, the ent that has his hair on fire goes and puts it out in the water. I imagine parts of LA feel like that. I saw some incredible pictures of New York where the whole harbor was frozen over. Is that real or was that AI?
I do not hang out at harbors, so I am not sure.
What are you doing, Will? That's where all the coolest stuff happens.
I wish I had the forearms of a longshoreman, but unfortunately,
way to bring it back around to fitness. You gotta, because it's true. Thank you everybody for watching us. This is a fitness podcast, I guess, but it's mainly about improving your life in every possible way, and in some ways that you're surprised by. So thank you for following us on YouTube, and we're now on Blue Sky. If you go to Zeros on Heroes, search Zeros on Heroes. Will Watkins is also on there, and Mike Mercadal will be there shortly, all at the same names. Yeah. We're going to be always the same names. And if you have any, follow us there. We're on YouTube if you're watching us, and we're on YouTube. We're on Twitch at Zeros on Heroes, so you can follow us on all of those platforms. And if you ever have a question, we had some lovely interactions, some people with that joined us in the chat. Last week, we hope that person was trying to get to their max bench it was already very good, but we were happy to help him out. We can help you out as well. You can send us emails at zerosonheroes@gmail.com. And
I will say I was glad I was able to articulate ways to help that person, because I was a little thrown off by the kilograms to pounds thing.
Yes.
Because I am a Florida education raised kid, and boy, kilograms to pounds. That
was a tough one. I know more. I'm more exposed to that because of the medical thing where everything is in metric. So we have to do. I still refuse to do Celsius though. When they make me do like body temperatures as 36 degrees, I'm like, you guys calm down. That is not, we do not do that. We are Fahrenheit over here. I'm already doing your milliliters, and I'm already doing your kilograms. I refuse to do metric temperature.
I saw somebody who came back from Taiwan, and I was like, hey, how's your Christmas break? And they said, oh, it was good. It was a gorgeous 34 degrees Celsius. And I was like, oh, no.
Oh.
I know.
The delay in what's about to happen. I know what's about to happen. I'm going to have to process this long enough for this person to be like, oh, are they stupid? I'm like, no, I just don't use that. I'm inexperienced. I don't know how.
Whenever Celsius is explained to me, I have to admit, it does sound way better.
So much easier
because it's really like, the freezing point is 0 degrees Celsius.
Yeah,
And it's like, okay, that's 32 degrees, and that makes way more sense to have freezing at 0.
Listen, there's a lot of stuff we do here in the United States that would make more sense if we just followed a more global ideal. There's a lot of stuff like that we could be doing. There's so much of it that we could be doing that we refuse because it's not profitable.
Listen, I love paying $800,000 for my insulin treatments. Okay,
I love it.
An American George Washington gave us that right.
Yes, that is our privilege to do that as an American. I'm proud to be an American. This is a time where I, much like Superman, transitioned from the truth, the justice, and the American way to truth, justice, and what was it?
Oh yeah, what's the new one now?
The new one. That's the new Superman. New Superman.
Truth, justice.
Truth, justice.
If conservatives have anything to add, they'd be like, "Oh, they changed it to truth, justice, and binary, non-conforming."
Yeah, truth, justice, and whatnot. No, truth, justice, and a better tomorrow.
Oh,
I like that, of course, because the American way is no longer about getting look. It would be hard to talk about a podcast. It would be hard to talk about ways to improve your body and your health and your overall outlook on life without talking about how it is like trying to do that through an obstacle course at this point. Like we're trying to, it's like there's literally the American gladiators are shooting tennis balls at us as we're trying to improve our lives. There's a very topical and current reference that everyone should get. If you don't get it, it's your fault. But it's true. Like we are being constantly at odds with the world to try and make our lives a little better here in the United States, because it is not profitable, or because, for politically, beneficial for people. And it's hard to ignore that. We are left leaning. We have our own minds about things, but the one thing we are not is exclusionary. Like the whole point of gym culture, the whole point of it is that anyone with a body can improve that body over time.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's just the way it is. And there's so much about current conservative politics that goes against it that it's hard to ever side with it. If you're a gym person and you're you're exclusionary, you represent the bad part of gym culture. You represent the bad part of society. The othering that is constantly thought of, and at least used to be thought of in jock circles, like the whole jocks versus nerds, that, oh, the jocks are cool, blah, blah, blah. That's done. That's old thinking. That was upheld by such stupid, these weirdly conservative, racist, white supremacist ideals that it's like hard to process if you've ever been to any kind of a gym. You know what I mean?
It's funny too, because I almost feel like there's a bit of a pushback now between old school gym culture and current one, because there is a bit of a schism especially in the fitness influencer community, where it's like, oh, those guys are a bunch of science nerds, and we're old school bro. And it's like, I don't know if you saw the thing with Jeff Nippard, where the Mike Van Wyck just straight up chokeslammed him for saying that he has a better idea of the most optimal way to do a certain exercise. And he's like, nerd.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm searching the thing. No, it's someone who stole the content. Who stole the content. Oof, I hate that. Interesting. Mike Israetel, who we champion on the show. We enjoy him and his things, his podcast, but he had comments on it. But anyway, the whole point, I'm trying to find the video, but it's struggling through all of the fucking content farming. Oh well, I cursed. There we go. Did I make it to 15 minutes? Nope. 14:27. Fuck you, algorithm.
I thought about that the other day, off on another tangent real quick, but it was like somebody said, oh, I'm unfollowing you off of, I think it was Twitter or something like that. And it was like, yeah, what does that mean to me? Like, it's like, I'm not selling anything. I don't get my personal value from the amount of followers I have on whatever
Yeah,
app.
nothing matters.
Maybe back
Yeah.
in the day when I was like, oh no, I can't promote my comedy show to more people. But now it's like I have nothing to lose. So
Yeah.
losing you means nothing.
Yeah, it really like almost like it would almost, because everything is algorithmically generated now, it would almost benefit me to not for you to not follow me, because then I don't have you messing up my algorithm. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like it would almost benefit, like go, this isn't an airport. You don't have to announce your departure. You just go. The idea that you're around means that you're obsessed with me.
Yeah.
You're the one that can't get enough of me. But yeah, I forgot how the ADD is firing. But the idea of like the science-based lifters at odds with the old school, like just bro lifters. When the bro lifters are on gear benefiting from the scientific advancements of
Yeah.
hormone replacement therapy, it's almost like, hey, that's gender affirming care, right? Like
Yeah.
all of these things are like when people tweet flat earth stuff from a cell phone, I'm like, you have that cell phone because of science, like not in spite of it.
You understand that that cell phone is sending signals to a satellite that are going in orbit around the Earth.
Yeah.
Around it.
It's crazy to me that my iPhone that I'm recording, I use my iPhone as my webcam.
What?
I can connect it to a satellite if I want to. Why would Apple develop the technology to do this? Why would it invest money into doing this? It costs them money to make it and add the little chip inside. Why would they do that if it wasn't real? Or why would they go through the effort of saying it's in there if it's all a scam? You know what I mean? Like, no, at a certain point, there's so much like removal of logic, like the Occam's razor of it all, where it's like, hey man, maybe you just got lied to. Like, hey, hey man, the most simplest solution to the all things being equal, that's the Occam's razor. All things being equal, the most simple, the simplest solution is probably the correct one. Maybe you're dumb, right? Like we all are average. Like there are very few of us that like once you realize that like the whole trans argument is based on like one girl in each state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like relax. Like it's not affecting the world. It's not affecting. It's just like you don't like the mess. You don't like the fact that you now have to deal with a worldview that's different than yours. I get it, right? But like the odds, like once you realize that the 90% of people are average, you're in the average. You're average. You're average. Unless you can bench more than 2 plates, and then you are in of that one thing. But on average, you're average. You know what I mean? Like on average, everybody is average. It's the delusion of thinking that the numbers are bigger than they really are, or your exceptionalism is different. Like there I had this old bit when I started doing stand-up again because we'll talk about a tweet from a very funny account, Martinis and Mascara, that I saw that I really enjoyed.
Oh, really?
That I started thinking about jokes again, and I was writing a joke about how when I was living in Queens, I dated like someone pointed out that I think it might have been you that I dated like 3 Asian girls in a row.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, do you have a weird Asian girl thing?" And I'm like, "No, that's just going to happen in Queens. That happens just mathematically, like geographically." Yeah. But also the Earth, right? Like the global majority is Chinese. Like there's literally the math. You gotta count numbers. You gotta accept real math when and like the American idea, the American exceptionalism, the idea that even our maps are skewed to show the northern hemisphere bigger than it really is. It's like all of these delusions when on a global scale, we're average. And if we're all average, that means that there are some of us that are below average in certain aspects, which you might just be below average dumb. Like what a liberating feeling it must be if you could finally accept that. If like I that would be one of my genie wishes, my monkey's paw wish. I wish everyone knew how dumb they were compared to everyone else. and it didn't hurt their feelings. Like it was just the way it is.
I feel like you're touching on the classical philosophy of Socrates, and that true knowledge is knowing that you know nothing.
Well, yeah, this literally the Dunning-Kruger effect, that if you know a little, you think you know a lot, but if you know a lot, you know a little. You know what I mean? Like it's.
I think that everything we've talked about boils down not just to intelligence and everything, but it boils down to one thing, which is ego. And I think because when you look at whether it's the guy saying, "Oh, I'm going to unfollow you," it's like, do you think you're that important that it's going to affect me as a person that you're leaving? But it also, when you go to people saying, "Oh, the Earth is flat," their ego doesn't allow them to get new information. Or with this case of the bro lifters versus the science lifters, it's totally a one-sided feud.
Yeah.
Because
it is absolutely one-sided.
Because the science lifters will even point out, like, hey, like bro lifters, like they have that knowledge because of trial and error over the past century of weightlifting and bodybuilding. Yeah. And it's just this thing of like, wow, I've been lifting for 30 years and I've been doing it this way. And now these guys are coming in saying this is a better way to do it. And it's like, that's bullshit, man. It's like, all right, you're unwilling to get new information because you don't want to admit that you don't know everything.
Or it's the idea of during the Santa Ana winds here that's been making the fires real bad. People were commenting about how, like, and as a South Florida native, born son of I am a Florida man.
Mm-hmm.
They were commenting about how all the trees get knocked down except for the palm trees. And all I could think about was like, that's what they've evolved to do because they belong here. Everything else that gets knocked over is kind of not supposed to be there if it's a common occurrence that high winds come through. And if they do fall over, they usually have some sort of evolved contingency to grow from the fallen tree. It's supposed to do that, right? Like you're supposed to bend with difficult times. You're supposed to adapt. That's the whole point of biological survival. Like the reason why, God, there's a document. It's called Judgment Day, but it's like part of the Nova series on PBS.
Oh, I love Nova.
No, it's basically when intelligent design had to be tried in a court of law, and it talks about how there's gaps in the evolutionary thing, and then they go to court and they basically show how over time we've evolved eyes this way. We evolved certain aspects of it goes into a lot more detail than I'm giving now, but it talks about how like you literally from the time we were organic chemistry to now, the only thing that's allowed us to survive is adaptation, right?
Yeah.
So if you psychologically struggle with adaptation, your chance, like we live in a coddle, like the society is weaker now, not because it's not because of adapting and acceptance that we are weaker. It's the opposite.
Yeah,
it's because people are trying to hold on to old systems from the Industrial Revolution that are genuinely killing the planet and are inflexible to new ideas because, say it with me now, it's not profitable. There's no revenue to be made. So that's the situation. In gym culture, it feels like, hey, you're just struggling with like this new thing. You're the same people that like when lightning would strike, you'd be, and like a fire would break out, and someone was like, oh no, that's a perfectly natural thing. You're like, it's a witch. The witch cast the spell. Like it's like, oh, they just know that you got to get out of don't stand under a tree.
Yeah.
When the lightning comes, because it's attracted to the light. They cast a spell. It's like, no, like you got to adapt. You got to learn. You got to process. I don't know where we are going with this conversation, but I think it feels very apropos now.
I think to wrap up this segment, we could even just say, like, don't be afraid to learn new things. Be willing to admit that you were wrong or were taught the wrong thing growing up. We all thought that Marilyn Manson had a rib removed so he could suck his own dick. And
we all knew that.
Yeah, it turns out he is just a dick.
He's just a monster. Yeah. That's I struggle. I want to dismount from this too, but I also this because this does like in the workout process, in the bettering ourself process, you start to learn how to extrapolate, and you see it in other places, right? Like everything we learned from, like, oh, my form was bad. Well,
Mhm.
why was my form bad? When I was taught by one of my coaches who did not have the knowledge of anatomy and physiology that we know now through exposure to different sources of education, that I was lifting too heavy, right? That the goal was to lift too heavy, and now my form is bad. Rather than be like, well, fuck you for pointing it out to me. That's the way I do it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, why is it? It's not a judgment on me. It's like, I was taught wrong. Oh, look, what's the right thing? There's so much of that in the world where people are like leaning into something that they were taught because of a trusted source told them. It's like, your trusted source could have been taught wrong. Like it's not a, I'm trying to think of the word. It's not like an attack on you as an individual. It's not an attack on your intelligence or autonomy. It's not an attack on anything in terms of your value. It's literally just, hey, here's a correction, and that's it. Like why is it always so much more than that? Like it's always loaded, at least in terms of political circles, like, oh, there's only two genders. It's like, God, man, that just means you never moved past middle school biology, because there is more. There's more out there. You just learned a thing and stopped.
Yeah.
There's more to learn, and
I mean, you can even say, like, perfect, if you want to take it back to the gym. Growing up, I think we were all taught that the greatest exercise for your chest was the flat bench barbell press, and it's like, great exercise. But then you throw in the science in there and you say, all right, it's actually, if you put it at a slight incline at like 30 degrees and you actually use dumbbells instead of a barbell, you're gonna have better form, you're gonna have better stretch, and lighten the weight. Instead of doing 3 to 6 reps, do 6 to 30 reps, and you're going to have more of a muscle stimulus. And it's like, hey, yeah. And for a while, I'll admit, I knew this information, and I still was trying to lift as heavy as I could on the bench. And then once I was like, all right, let me do this other thing.
It's just peer review, man. That's what it is. You're just I love how even when, like, in the most Jim Bro-y of like dickheads, if they are recording their workouts, they are doing science. That's it. That's what they're doing. They're documenting their experiments and drawing conclusions from their findings.
Yeah, they're doing field research.
They're doing like, you're literally doing science. If you work out and you write it down, Adam Savage has that great quote. He's like, science is just fucking around but writing it down. Like, it's like, because it's literally just being able to go back and look at it. But you're literally doing science. If I go, my last workout was this much. I'm holding my phone, but it used to be you have these dudes walking around with the spiral notebooks and stuff like that. That is a throwback. I just had a flashback of like walking around with like a graphing paper notebook to like do bar graphs about like how many. Man,
if you want to incorporate the ADD into this, I'll say I tried to use my phone in one of those apps, but every time I used the app, it was like, oh, let me open this other app, and this other app, and this other app, and I would stop working out. So then I was like, all right, let me go back to the notebooks, and then this is basically the same thing. What happened?
It's the same exact thing. Yeah.
So now it's just like I'm just like in my head. I'm like, all right, let me try to remember what I did. Like, it's way easier this way. That way I don't touch my phone. I don't get distracted.
Yeah, it's weird how, like, addressing ADHD has made my gym going more focused. Even that alone. Like, I didn't realize how many mental distractions I had at the gym. And it's like, oh, right. My brain is the same in every context, which I guess is an understanding that I think if you get to that understanding, that you realize that your brain is just like, we're a meat robot operated by a ghost in a ghost's brain. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know, like we're just moving muscles and bones. Like, it's literally just organic robotics. But your brain is the thing the whole time. right? Like
Yeah.
the only way that you have to, it's just such a, when you start to get real, like esoteric about it, like real existential about like, what are we, man? You're just electricity floating around in a nervous system controlling an organic robot.
I will say this to not to disagree with you on this, but yeah, I've had the argument a couple times where people say, "Oh, you don't think there's a soul or a spirit inside you? Then you're just meat and bones." And it's like, we're not just meat and bones. You gotta realize how amazing the human body is, that we're able to do the things we do because of certain blood vessels and nerve endings, and we're amazing machines.
Show some respect on that meat. You know what I mean? Like that meat is super important and very elaborately evolved. It's like you're the product of billions of years of evolution. Act like it.
Yeah.
Like that concept, or even the Socrates that every man owes himself to see the extent of his physical body, or whatever, that whole quote about, like, Socrates was all about like, working out, man, get that body as efficient as possible. All of these things to say, there's if you don't improve, if you aren't constantly seeking or being introspective in the way that you can improve and fix things, which I think can get toxic to a certain degree, but there's a certain level of that self-improvement that is why we are evolved to be what we are. Now, that's not to say we evolved correctly, because one could look at the surface of the earth and be like, it's trying to shake us off like we're fleas. You know what I mean? Like, we are clearly, like, the fires in LA. I mean, one could say that's the equivalent of a body giving itself a fever to kill the virus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, one could say that it is the Earth's autoimmune system trying to kill us. I wonder why. I wonder why it would view us as the enemy of the Earth. Either way, there's this podcast or this show or this time that we've like spent with each other trying to improve it, like really focused on it, came from a place of like, oh yeah, it's holistic, it's everything. Not holistic in the crystals and energy, whatever, but holistic in the whole,
WHOLE.
WHOLE. Speaking of W's, let's talk about our new segment to the show. We're talking about the wow. We're gonna do a workout of the week. I think we do the show on Sundays because it fits our schedule, but it's also kind of convenient that this is how we start our week.
Yeah.
This show is motivational in a way that it's like, okay, this is Sunday, starting today. We're gonna do, for the rest of the week until we see you again, viewer, listener, wherever you are. This is our workout of the week, what we're gonna focus on. And you mentioned my workout, my favorite thing. The dumbbell bench press, the incline dumbbell bench press, and something you mentioned last week was really beneficial, was that if you get to a point of like failure, to like bounce, or what did you call it? Rep out the bottom.
Yeah, like pulse it a little bit at the bottom.
Pulsing.
Pulse out.
Yeah.
Get that stretch. Like, do even if it's a half rep or something, and then like slowly just get that full nice stretch, or you can even just hold it sometimes. There was a study, let's get more science, but they found that, I think about the soleus of the calf, I forgot which part of the calf, but people always think like when you do a calf raise to go up, they say actually if you do it like a stretch with, like if you're on like a leg press or something and you're doing calf raises, if you actually leave it at the stretch position like this, and you leave it there for extended periods of time, you'll have more muscle growth, because your body isn't used to that, because when you're walking, you're always flexing and pushing off.
Those aspects of the muscle get so much more continuous work literally that range activates an entirely different aspect of the muscle.
They call it the novel stimulus. So the same thing happens where it's like, if you're always concerned about the contraction up here, and you never go all the way down and get that good stretch at the bottom, that lengthened stretch, you're never gonna. It's more novel that way. You're gonna have more of an activation there.
Yeah, and I think that happens in a way. I think people don't really view that as the complete rep, right? You know, like it's like that again, it goes into the old school thinking of like, get it up to the top, get it up to the top, get it up to the top. It's like, or you know, like what if that strain at the end isn't doing what you think it is, and if you just rep out, pulse, like you said, that's a great word to describe what you're doing down there, and then have somebody you know, spot you back up to the top without exerting it completely, you've already like depleted this top range of motion. You might as well, you know, just exert yourself on the part that will benefit you the most, I guess. Is the concept. And then who cares if you need a spot to get past the part that you already worked out? You already worked it out.
Yeah.
You know, it's a mental thing. But yeah, that's my that idea is my workout of the week. That little pulse at the stretch at the bottom.
Because if you ever try it out, you can even like, I'm always thinking of like, whenever I do an exercise, it's like, what muscles am I using? Kind of a mind muscle connection kind of thing, where it's like, if you are doing I love full reps. I always do full reps, but like I said, sometimes I'll do the, you know, like the partials at the end. But
when you fail,
yeah,
it's like, I'm tired. All right, I don't want to like see that. Let me get the most out of this failure. Is kind of a way to think about it.
Isn't that funny? In gym culture and exercise in general, your goal is to fail. Like you want to fail. So it's like, but as you're doing like a dumbbell bench press, you'll notice as you go up, you're also hitting your triceps, you're hitting your shoulders, your anterior delt. You're also getting some forearm activation there as you're going all the way up. But then when you're all the way down at the bottom, triceps are out of it, delts are out of it. You're just down there, and it's nothing but this attachment right here at the pec level. So it's like you're just straight up hitting just the pec.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my goal for this week. For workout of the week, that dumbbell press, that incline dumbbell press, with that full stretch at the bottom, where that I caught myself feeling it more, but also feeling better about it. Like it hurt less. I felt it more, but it hurt less. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? So that's going to be my focus for this week. What's your workout of the week?
I've also to add on to that, if you want to try this out, if you're gonna do like maybe 3 sets of the dumbbell press, as you're doing that pulse, use 3 different grip angles. So like this is the classic one, have it all the way down there. On your second one, go do like a supinated grip, and that's going to work more of the upper pec.
Okay.
And then you could also do a neutral, which is going to stretch out the entirety of it. It's also kind of may even hit some of your serratus as well. That's going to get that good stretch. So go like 1, 2, and then 3 is the third set.
I always think of that as the Arnold, you know, because he does the whole twisting that presses. The Schwarzenegger doing the whole, like the people who do like all of these motions, and I'm like, but you're saying there is some benefit to changing the position of your grip, not just doing. I don't even do I just do what naturally happens. That's why I do dumbbells, so that I don't feel forced to grip it in a way that feels unnatural. My body mechanics will just, you know, land naturally where it feels the most comfortable. It feels
like naturally, like because of the fibers of the muscle, it is going to be, you're not going to, for a barbell, it's like straight across, and that's unnatural. But if like dumbbells are going to be more of an angle, you're going to do more of an upward pushing motion. But
I'll try. Yeah, that's interesting. Before we move forward, FM Mariani Colon. Hello. Waves back. Hello. Do you have any ways in which you're improving your fitness, your body, your mind, or your community? Has fitness influenced your life? Let us know. Shoot us a message in the chat. We'll talk about it. We're talking about our workout of the week. What, Will, is your workout of the week?
I just did a chest today as well. And what I been doing recently is kind of a compound mechanical drop sets with the cables. What I'll do is
you're a cable enthusiast.
I'll go through bouts where it's like for 3 months I'm obsessed with dumbbells, 3 months I'm obsessed with cables, 3 months I'm obsessed with whatever else, which is good because then, like I said, novel stimulus. but it is like today, mechanical drop sets, very similar to regular drop sets where you drop the weight, but with mechanical drop sets, you change the angle. So we'll start off with cable flies up top, where you're doing it like a downward motion, and that's going to hit the lower pec. And then I'll do like 2 sets there, drop it down, and I'll do 2 in the middle, and that's going to work basically the whole pec. And then I'll drop it down another time, do 2 more sets, and I do a fly upward, and that's going to hit the upper chest there. So I'm basically hitting the entire thing. And the way your pec works is you have 2 motions. You have the fly motion and the pressing motion. So what I'll do is I'll almost like a superset where I'll start with the flies. I'll do mechanical drops on the flies, but then I'll do a reverse mechanical on a cable press. So I'll make sure I put the cables more close together and press them out like this. And I'll do the same thing. I'll start off low, the reverse of it. So I'll start off low, go to middle, and then I'll end high. So that way I work all 3 heads as well as the functionalities.
So your workout of the week, well, just to kind of like crystallize it to its simplest form, it would be the cable, using the cable machine to get all angles of the chest.
All angles of the chest and both functionalities of the chest.
Both functionalities. Now, not everybody. So it's interesting. Like I have a limited gym here in my apartment building that I use, but it does have a cable machine, and you can kind of do everything with the machine.
Yeah.
I struggle. I'm not an expert on pulleys and block and tackle systems, so I don't exactly know how the weight translates to functional weight. Like if I can, if the cable, if I'm the resistance I'm getting from the cable is the same as the actual like poundage I would be getting if I was laying down and using a dumbbell. Does that matter? Like, do those numbers translate?
It's slightly similar, but slightly different as well. Because when it comes to machines versus dumbbells, there's a huge debate and stuff, but it just comes down to personal preference. For instance, if I was going to do flies on a bench, it's also about safety. If I was going to do flies on a bench, I would probably, even though I could press 75 pounds, I'm going to go down to like a 25 pound to do a fly on a bench, because it's going to hurt your shoulders as you're doing that, because once you get to a certain level. But if I'm doing flies on cables, I'll go up to like 65, 70. And then
that's tricky.
And then interesting. I can press it forward. But it's also weird too, because
speaking of ego lifting, it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing 80-pound flies on this sort of thing. It's like on a cable machine. Hey, how about you shut up, dude? Let's not talk about how I'm doing it mechanically. I'm just 85 pounds. Leave me alone. I'm not. It's like I'm using the simple machines of a block and tackle pulley system. I've been around since Archimedes. I'm using my brain to get that ego lift. That's what it's about.
I used to go to the Planet Fitness on 14th Street, and somebody was like, "Hey, how come you haven't seen it there?" And I was like, "Well, the dumbbells only go up to 60 at 14th Street, and they go up to 75." And somebody was like, "Dude, quit bragging." And I was like, "No, I was just giving a reason."
It's the real reason. I'm just so strong. Fernando, sorry about the username. You can call me Fernando. I saw you in the fitness channel lurking while finishing up work from home shift. Your topic sounds interesting. Fernando, you're always welcome. If you can't stay and hang out and watch too long, you can email us questions and we'll answer them. zerozoneheroes@gmail.com. And we love hearing about what if there's any way that our knowledge and experience, me being an older man trying to get back into fitness I was an athlete as I was younger, and Will as like the guy who I turn to for advice, who's put his money where his mouth is, and has become this kind of, you seek improvement. Also, because we do talk about your body, but your mind and how it. What are some group workouts? Do you have a buddies that you work out with? Tell us about them. We enjoy that too. But yeah, please, like, share, and subscribe, spread the word, and we want to build a community of people who, if they come to this later, they can still get something out of it. There's always like an aspect of like what you just said about not injuring your shoulder. There's nothing as a man in my 40s that I am trying to do more than not injure myself. Step 1, not injure myself. Step 2, not get diabetes. Step 3, look a little better. There's you can't take the vanity out of it, but
I will say, yeah,
no,
to your point, so much of what I do nowadays is straight up because, for instance, acute tendonitis in my right shoulder, and even to the point where I was like, oh my god, like I started feeling like that bump right there. I was like, oh no, this feels like it's going to be arthritis. I was like, I got to change this up. So that's when I changed it. I would like knock on whatever wood, but I don't have anything like that. But yeah, also like, I mean, we're always here to give free advice, and I do say free because I've had so many. I help a lot of people. Whenever somebody has questions, they ask me, and they go, "You should be a personal trainer." And I was like, I thought about doing it for a while. I was taking the classes and whatnot, and then it's like, I don't want to monetize another one of my joys, where it's like, oh, I don't want to stress about getting new clients and blah blah blah. I was like, I would rather just do this for fun and give away whatever knowledge I have for free. It's
so prescient, so relevant. Fernando, yay for us older guys trying to get back into better physical and mental health shape. About to celebrate 43 years next weekend. I'm 43. I got a little bit that was the whole point, man. I was just trying to get like back into physical shape after COVID and everything. Everything was like, you and I started talking again. You've always been the guy that I turn to for fitness advice, like you just said, and you shared it willingly. I think that's such an important thing that you were just like, that's why we're friends. We've been friends for a long time in our past lives as comedians, which we can't ignore and deny. There's evidence of us being comedians for a long time. Ugh. But also, yeah, it's gross. But also the idea that you, that it's, you don't want to monetize, like, so this is a post from Martinis and Mascara, very funny account.
Post from Martinis and Mascara.
Yeah, that's right. Where it's okay to do creative hobbies for fun and not money. And she goes on to say that she went to her first voice lesson in over a decade.
Yeah,
and like there's sometimes it's so dumb that you need to be told that you don't have to be profitable to just enjoy your life. Yeah. Like it's like, how refreshing an idea that you could just do hobbies for fun and not money, that like fun is enough, right? Like that to me is like the fact that you have to say it out loud is kind of a bummer, but also like reinvigorating. It's kind of affirming that it's like, yeah, you're right. If I want to sit here and play guitar badly for an hour because it was fun, I should not have to feel guilty that I wasted an hour that I could have been podcasting or building an empire of software development or whatever the fuck, like who cares? I was just having fun. I was just having fun. That's literally all it takes. You derive a lot of your fun in working out and all that stuff. But, it does serve other purposes for you in terms of like we talk about mental health, a community, just kind of feeling vibrancy in your body, like experimenting with your body, like learning the limits of your muscles is kind of it's a form of it can be very fun to accomplish goals. Like that's such an underrated thing. So yeah, I will say I've gone back to doing comedy things. I'm, doing improv classes here at UCB because I would love to. I miss performing. I love performing. I did my first open mic in a while, and and if viewers, if you don't know, open mics are a nightmare. They are terrible. It is a lot of comedians just trying to figure out how to process their craziness in a room full of other people doing the same thing who are also just writing their own jokes, and trying to get a laugh in an open mic that is just comedians is very hard. It's tricky. It's complex because you have to like you're saying things for the first time. There's nerves. It's just like a quagmire of like quicksand and bullshit of emotionally heavy topics, people trying to be clever with emotionally triggering topics, that fall flat sometimes, and you're just like, oh, am I gonna fall flat? Should I not say these things? All of this stuff is happening mentally in the process. But when it's good, it's very fun. And I went and I did a new bit. I did some jokes. I wrote a new bit. I wrote a joke. And it was received well, and there was that joy of a laugh that I was like, oh no, this is once I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. And it was true just to go without, and I was just hanging out, and they were like, because it was connected to the improv thing, and I was like, oh, I'm just here, might as well, with zero kind of plan for turning it into the career, it was just
I
just want to tell a
that,
joke again. I don't know, maybe if anything happens, it will be tangential. It will be a collateral benefit. It will be a collateral benefit to the process of just telling a joke and getting my thoughts out and all that stuff. That was the way I harnessed my ADHD in the past when I was unmedicated and undiagnosed. Might as well, because I always say that artists and predominantly comedians, because that's how I process. Everyone's a lawnmower. We're all just going through chopping up grass, right? Comedians and artists are the kind of lawnmower that has a bag, and if you don't empty the bag, it backs up, and you're unable to function as a lawnmower anymore. You know what I mean? Like it ruins the machine. So you gotta periodically get all of this life experience that went into the bag that you chopped up into little pieces, and you got to go like, get all this out of here, and then you filter through it and be like, oh, that was fun. Oh, it like forces you to categorize memories in different compartments of your brain.
Yeah.
And that to me was a necessity when I was unmedicated and before I knew what was wrong with my brain. And I was just like, oh, that's just comedian brain. Meanwhile, it's like ADHD, neurodivergent, and like textbook shit. And then it's like, yeah, that's how I've been processing. So it was just like, it was a good feeling. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that again. And I'm going to keep following this good feeling. If anything happens to it in context of like getting a gig or getting a spot somewhere, or pursuing something, it'll be second to the experience of it being fun.
Yeah,
that's my new mantra when it comes to that. Fernando says, because they're saying thanks for the first time, awkward stand-up comedian. I love you. Hey, would it have been the first time? I've heard shit like that in open mics before. Is there something in your life that you're doing right now for fun and not money, just for fun? Like you were talking about your woodworking class, your last week. You were how is that something that you're doing with intent, or is that just like because it's fun to build stuff?
It is. It can lead potential to because it's through my union, so it's like a trade union thing. But really, I mean, I could use it to become a super of a building or whatever it is and all that kind of stuff. But it is also like I am just taking it because it's like, I don't know, like my grandfather built his own house. It's a skill to have. If there's a hole in the drywall, I can fix it now. If I ever did want to build a little cabin, I know how to do like a layout or a framing or that kind of thing. It's like, I can make a roof. Like there are these cool things where it's like, oh, I could, if I wanted to, do these things now. Not that I am, but it is cool knowledge to have.
It's also like functional knowledge. Like I always, that the what would you do in the zombie apocalypse? Like there was always the zombie apocalypse that people would talk about. Who do you want on your zombie apocalypse team? And the more and more that conversation kept happening, I was like, also, those are just good skills to have.
Yeah.
Like in general, like the Ron Swanson of it all, like he has that speech of like the people who fix things just know how to aren't reliant on systems put in place to kind of control you a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. When I went during COVID, I got really into bushcraft camping, like backpacking, and you just go off into the wilderness. And I learned all of these little tips and tricks of like, hey, if I need to make like a wall to block, like to break wind for a campfire, so I could more easily build a fire. All these little tips and tricks I was obsessed with. And then when I went out into the woods, I did a hike like in the winter, like the day after Thanksgiving. Like
I remember that week. I think you bailed.
It was supposed to be 2 nights out there on this trail loop, and it had rained the night before, so everything was wet, and it dropped down to 25 degrees, so everything froze. 25 degrees Fahrenheit, not Celsius, below zero for our metric people. But it was a like kind of an example of like, oh, theoretical knowledge is different than practiced like actual knowledge, or execution. So like it was definitely a reality check. Having the gears a big chunk of the way there, having the somewhat knowledge, and I guess over time I could have been able to like handle myself better out there, but I was just not like, I was like, nope, I'm unprepared. I'm gonna turn around and just kind of head on back. Fortunately, it was a way that I was safe, and I could have stayed out there another night. I had plenty of food and fire.
Yeah.
It was just everything was wet and frozen, and that I was not prepared for. And I was like, oh, I only saw this done in ideal conditions.
Yeah.
I need to learn how to do stuff in poor conditions. That concept of like of learning it. I'm sorry, I distracted, but like the idea of having, if you were to zombie apocalypse, like you would be the person to be like, okay, I can figure something out. And forget about the zombie apocalypse. That's never going to happen. But there may be a time when you need to be removed from, like a skill that isn't just like a social media marketing manager. You know what I mean? Like eventually that will, who knows if that's going to be a relevant thing. But you know what? If I'm a butcher, I think that's one of my things that I would do as a class, like you're doing your which. If I'm a butcher and I know how to process like meat for consumption and to know what's safe and what's not, and to know how to do it all, like that's a skill that is that's a real world skill, fishermen, like this, like growing up around the water and around people who know how to fish. I feel like, oh, I could survive if I had to fish, because I know how to do that. And I've done it a million times since I was a kid, I feel like building stuff is also part of it, like stuff,
I think it's so fascinating, especially for our generation, that we've evolved as a human society to the point that we're trying to learn caveman shit.
Yes,
we've completely forgotten basic survival skills, where it's like, oh, how do I build a shelter? Oh, how do I make a fire? How do I survive in the wilderness? It's like the stuff that they were just doing to live day to day. That if they did not have, they would not live. And we're like, yeah, I'm going to order seamless because I forgot to go grocery shopping.
The truth of this podcast is that fitness is a newer concept because we live in more sedentary lives. Even people back in the day when they were doing construction, like not construction, factory work and all that stuff, it used to not be like you had to know how to do everything. You had to know, like if you were living someplace that wasn't a city and you weren't a wage slave, indentured servant, like you had to know how to do stuff. Cooking was like not a gendered, like you just had to know how to exist, like you had to know how to survive. And I think part of it is that fitness harkens back to a time when, as a man, there's a certain amount of toxicity to old thinking in the tribal sense, right? The strongest was the leader. You might makes right. If the stronger you were, the more you got to eat more, you got to fuck more, you got to, like you owned more. It was different. And because we're doing this sort of thing in a time when none of that is necessarily relevant, aspects of that seep in. And I hate it because it's like, hey, it's not about that anymore. It's not about survival, right? We're not like, humanity also evolved to be long distance runners, not you know what I mean? Like we evolved to chase our food until it got so tired that it would just die. Like it would be easy to kill. But being strong was also beneficial in terms of, ironically, homesteading more than anything. Manipulating the terrain, farming, like manipulating the terrain, which was more unisex, I think. because
I also,
there's
also I think this concept has also been corrupted by a certain demographic of people, because the idea of hunter-gatherer men are the strong, big, strong.
yes,
Oh, they
yeah,
got to be the protectors of the village, and they have to wear the armor and go out. It's like they're doing that so that other people will cultivate crops, so that other people will raise children, so that other people will write poetry to make life worth
yeah,
living. It's like it's done in commune. It's done
yeah,
as a
yeah,
way
yeah,
so that we as a society can function. All right, those guys are going to protect us. Those guys are going to feed us. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Everything is all. It's a
yeah.
puzzle piece coming together, and that's how we survive. That is survival of the fittest. Is the society that is the fittest is the one that will survive.
The survival of the fittest. Yeah, it's because even Darwin was
Yeah.
who coined the term. I want to find the actual quote of the fittest was incorrect, because it's not about survival of the fittest. It's about survival of the most adaptable.
Yeah.
Right. So like if you had a genetic mutation that made you unable to survive, because this, like the whole thing about the finches and the beaks, that was like one of the things that if you read like on the origin of species, like nobody ever reads these old ass books anyway. They just quote them. They just like pick and choose. They cherry pick. It's almost like the Bible. The aspect of adaptability is that the beaks that developed to eat certain seeds on different islands, those are the ones that would survive. So it's not about the survival of the fittest or the biggest or the strongest. It's the most adaptable. Can you adapt to your surroundings? If a storm comes and blows away all the resources, can you move to another area where you're like, oh, I don't know which one of these plants are poisonous? I don't know how to do it. It's like, yeah, but if I figure out a way to like, okay, well, I can cultivate this plant over here and maybe now I can eat that. Like the concept of potatoes in Europe, that did not exist. Tomatoes, like people talk about genetically modified anything. Tomatoes are poisonous. Mandrake, like it's a nightshade is the origin of tomatoes, and we eat them all the time. I ate them for breakfast this morning. You know what I mean? It's like it's the adaptability of everything is what makes it survive. And I think gym culture like the toxicity of certain aspects of gym culture, like to come back around full circle to the guy Mike, whatever his name is, who attacked Jeff Nippard for criticizing his old thinking. That's part of it, where it's like, hey, we don't need you. Like we're done. We're done with you. You can rest now. You can retire. And I think that's hearkening a little adjacent to all of the problems happening right now, but it's a lot of old thinking being carried over in a time that doesn't need it anymore. I don't know what the point of all that was, but yeah. Well, let's get back to the show. So like we were talking about like doing something for fun and not for profit. This show is clearly for fun because there's no profit being made on the show.
We're not appealing to any algorithm right now
at all. But the truth is that there's a benefit that I've told you from the beginning. We've talked about it on the show that I'm hanging out with a friend of mine in a way that technology is now allowing me to communicate with you. Like I can see you.
Yeah.
We're not physically in the same space. We're digital ghosts to each other at this point. You haunt my little box.
Mm-hmm.
You haunt this screen, and I haunt your screen. But we still get to like exchange our what did I call it? Our ghosts. You know what I mean? Like our brains still get a chance to talk about stuff. And I would be doing this if regardless of profit motive. So this is one of the things that I do for fun too.
Oh yeah. Isn't it funny how you're just like, oh yeah, I'm enjoying the thing we're now talking about. Like this is not.
This is it. Talking to Fernando in the chat, talking to whenever anybody chimes in, answering their questions. Like all of this is fun. I love intercommunication and talking and stuff.
One thing that it's just in the past couple months maybe is I never played video games because in my mind it's such a time sucker that I could be devoting to this career trajectory.
Yes.
And then once I got rid of like I need to hustle, I need to grind set, and I just like I was like, I'm gonna get caught up on all these video games I never played over these years, and I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, there's an aspect of that is very fun.
And
Like,
I still fight it, but there is like a bit of guilt. Like, all right, I'm only gonna play video games for like half hour. I'm not gonna allow myself. And it's like, hey, man, time you enjoy wasting isn't time wasted. Like
100%, it's such a modern capitalist toxicity. Like capital, like what is that late stage capitalistic idea of like, oh, I could be better using this time for what? For what? What do you what's gonna like all these people? There's all of those like Sigma grind set YouTubers that talk about like there's somebody who says that they have 3 days in a day, and I'm like, dog, you can't just say shit. You can't just say like just because you say things with authority doesn't mean that you're like you say it with confidence. You're just confidently wrong. Like you're just wrong. What was the video we saw about? I think we shared it in the chat. And I can't remember where. What it was that you no who sent it that it was like about the Washington Redskin. Oh yes, hold on, I found it. Hold on. Let me see this.
As we're talking about Washington Redskins, can we just change it from
a
Native
Washington
American to like a potato? Like a redskin potato?
It could have been a redskin potato. Hold on a second. Let me just do this here.
Now, I'm a DC girl at heart, okay? And I am a Washington.
Ma'am, okay, I understand that you like the Washington Commanders, and you say you're a DC girly at heart. The Washington Commanders isn't from Washington, D.C. They're from the state of Washington, on the other side of the country. Over with California and Oregon. Washington is above Oregon. So that's where the Washington Command.
Okay, she's wrong. Like, that's not correct. She's just flat out like the rest of the video is like 3 minutes long, and she's just digging herself into this thing of like the Washington Commanders are in the are from Washington State. It's like, but the audacity, like that's the thing that I struggle with social media, where there's no like I should choose to I should be able to correct that, and then once it's corrected, like submit an appeal of be like, hey, that's factually inaccurate. It should get taken down. That lady's video is still chilling there. She reposted it.
I have to say this about
so wrong.
The human mind, where as we were saying before, I think of myself as at average intelligence, if not maybe a little bit more than average intelligence. And when she first started saying that, I was like, oh my God, am I wrong?
Am I? You thought
she said it with such confidence. Yeah.
Yes. Fernando, yes. The confidence at how wrong she was. Community notes with the veto power. Like that is all I want. Here's my two major rules of fixing social media, right? If I were to fix social media, because it does have such a detrimental impact on my mental health. It's hard to avoid just the muscle memory of opening up a social media app as soon as I pick up my phone. One, you can no longer comment if your account is private.
Oh yeah.
If you're private across the board. There is no publicity for you. You do not exist in a public space. You cannot comment. If you have to make your account public. And if at any moment you make your account private, every comment you've ever made in the past disappears. Right? That's it. You exist on a completely different internet social media platform. You're a lurker. That's it. That is your role. You're defined. Second is that community notes. I love this idea, Fernando. Yeah, the veto power of community notes, where the thing just gets taken down. Like, it's like not because it offended somebody, not because like, forget about taking offense, forget about like hate speech, if something is inaccurate factually, and I can present evidence for it, it disappears. And while it's being contested, it's just down, because there needs to. and also the net neutrality of holding the platforms accountable for as like a media. You treat it as a media company and not a technology company. And then now they are Facebook Meta is responsible for the content that's on it. They can't do the whole masculine energy thing that Mark Zuckerberg said. It has to be held accountable, otherwise it could go down. Like when they took TikTok down, they electively took it down, not because it was going to be shut down by the government or whatever. It was because for everybody who downloads anything from the app, it would be $5,000 per user.
Ooh.
So, yeah. So make every social media platform a media company and not a technology company. That's why they're doing AI, because they want to be branded as technology companies, not media companies. Because posting content, it would make them accountable for whatever the factual content of whatever there would be like a huge corrections and omissions section of TikTok of Twitter or whatever. That's what would ultimately happen. Those are my things. Those are three things, I guess, to fix social media.
One of my most extreme ideas about how to fix social media was if an account gets enough downvotes, that it'll be deleted. And
yes.
And then I thought, well, then there'll be retribution where it's like, somebody on the right got deleted, so then they're going to send off the people on the left, and somebody from the left is going to get deleted, and back and forth. And I thought, well, yeah, but eventually all these clickbait, rage bait accounts, whether left, right, or any party, like they'll all be gone, and then the only thing left are regular people.
Yeah, that's what my TikTok algorithm became. I just blocked everybody that I was like, this is either really far right or far left, like anything that felt bad, like weird, I would just block them. And every corporation that came across my feed, blocked. I don't want to see.
You don't want to see what Wendy said? You don't want to see
the Wendy's give a fuck about Oreos. I do not give a fuck about the oh man, you see how crazy the Nutter Butter. I do not give a fuck about that. What I give a fuck about is other people making stuff. That's why by the time TikTok got banned, my algorithm was straight up cooking videos, people making food. It was people, musicians, man, so many musicians that, oh God, I loved it. It was awesome. Every like intense, and even like gospel bands that are church bands, that they're just so talented. Stuff I have no inkling for in real life, but the music, man, so good. People building things, like people like woodworking videos.
Yeah, man.
Amazing. People power washing things, like the oddly satisfying content.
So
good.
Cleaning a rug with a power washer?
Cleaning a rug. Those I don't like, because they are fake and they dirty those rugs on purpose, and then they waste a ton of water. Cleaning is very wasteful. But some guy getting a tree chopped down, like also bushcraft content would always be on my thing. People.
Oh yeah, you see that guy who goes around and like mows old ladies' lawns?
Yeah,
mowed their lawns in years.
SB Mowing. Yes, I follow them, and I love them, and they do a great job just kind of monetizing their charity, because they never ask for any money. They just put it on YouTube, and then they get millions of views on YouTube and get YouTube money. Perfect. That's social media right there. That is prime YouTube shit. Good stuff. Shout out to SB Mowing. I hope that guy's a good guy. I hope he's not a piece of crap.
Yeah.
But what he does is good. Fernando, Power Wash Simulator was a popular game last year or the year before. Guess what, Will, with your video games? Let's go power wash some stuff,
Power wash, save some water. Yeah.
You do it online. I use the digital water. Sure, why not?
I should get into some weird, obscure games. Like I'm playing like all the cool ones I haven't played in a while, but it's like, oh yeah, there are also like weird ones out there.
There are weird ones out there, and there are like really good indie games out there. I want to make a list of. I guess we'll talk about it. I'll make a list, and we'll talk about it next week. But there are some like really good indie games that I've played a couple times that they're short, they're quick, and they're cheap, and you just buy them on Steam or wherever. What do you have? A Xbox, PlayStation?
PS5.
Yeah, PS5. Okay, yeah, I'm sure there's like some indie games there. It's harder to get them for cheap because of PlayStation.
Yeah,
has like a grip on that. Either way, Power Wash, like when the social media is what it's about. Like it's not somebody trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite accounts that got so popular, they do have ads, but they do ads the right way, is the guy that does Roll for Sandwich. He just ran. He's like a Dungeons and Dragons guy who just decided to randomly roll ingredients for his sandwich. So he rolls dice and he has a list of numbers and there's bread 1 through 6 and he rolls a 5 and he's like, sourdough. And then he rolls for a main and then he rolls for roughage. He's got a sauce roll. And then because it's a D&D inspired thing, he's got a wild magic where he's like just a lot of weirdo stuff. So he rolls a dice and then he's got to put sprinkles on his sandwich. And some of the atrocities I've seen this man eat online are astounding. And so, but then he makes like some good sandwiches. The community built around this roll for sandwich guy, he does ads, but he does ads for sandwich related things or Dungeons and Dragons related things. That's it, on brand. I don't want to see him be like, here's, on the TikTok shop, buy whatever. He's doing his content and he's unchanged, unflappable, and he kicks ass. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. That is like what I think the social media benefits from. And you're right. Eventually it will iron out. If you just start chopping heads, be like, nope, the people have spoken. You've got too many. Yeah, we'll retaliate on you. And now by the end of it, there's just a whole bunch of musicians and sandwich makers.
I think that's what you said about the guy who making the sandwiches and his ads are for sandwich related stuff. I think is great. Because a lot of people say like, you're anti-capitalist, you're anti-making money or whatever. It's fine. Make your money, do your thing. But it's also like, I was watching like a breakdown of, I think it was like Severance. And halfway through, the person was like, and here are some pills to get your dick hard. And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like you went to film school and now you're selling dick pills?
Yeah. Oh my God. What the, boy. The idea that it started with the illusion. Remember Instagram? They had the Instagram models that were always holding some sort of like detox tea.
Yeah.
That's how it really started. And I was like, I guess a diuretic benefits like looking slim on camera. I guess it is. And then it turned. Now it's just like, it's just not good. Not. It's just so annoying that we have to deal with. Again, those are my rules for fixing it. Every social media platform is treated as a media company, not a technology company. If you, I like the veto power of the community notes, where if it's something is factually inaccurate, take it down.
Yep.
Either correct it, either add an addendum and be like, sorry guys, I messed up. Here's how I can correct it, or it gets taken down. And then if you have a private profile, you cannot exist publicly on social media. If you're private, sorry, man, you're a lurker. You're a lurker. You do not exist. If you want that social media, you can't, like all of these like weird Facebook groups that they discover that is like, 70,000 racists on some Facebook group. And it's like, why are they allowed to exist privately? Like, they got set something else up for those people. Let them do their old school email forwards like they used to back in the day. Because I used to get that shit all the time from weirdo family members. But yeah, no, that's how I would solve all the world's problems. Just if you're private, get the fuck out of the public space. With that said, though, I'm sure there's going to be someone to correct me, which we welcome corrections at zerosonheroes@gmail.com. You can follow us at Mike Mercadal, William A. Watkins, at Zeros on Heroes on all social media platforms, including Blue Sky, which we are on, and YouTube and Twitch. Yeah. As we dismount this episode, which again, flawless. Perfect job.
Yeah.
We did so good.
We are infallible. Nobody should correct us on anything.
And if you do, send us an email at zerosonheroes@gmail.com. Thank you, Fernando, for hanging out with us. We always end each episode talking about how we look forward to this week, what we're going to work on in terms of building our bodies, and calming our minds, and improving our communities. The triangle of someone's going to be like, Illuminati. The triangle of self-improvement, body, mind, and community. Body, Will, your goals last week were to eat more good food, eat less bad food. Or like, what was it? It was just eat more of the good. That was the real context. How did you fare? And then what are your body goals for this week?
Well, to give you an idea, for lunch today, I had 2 halves of 2 separate Philly cheesesteaks. One was steak, one was a chicken buffalo. And so I took the meat and combined them together into one sandwich. And so to say, I did not eat better food this week.
I mean, I'm sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but Fernando, thank you for joining us. What are your answer this question? We're talking about mind, community. What's your goals for the week? Share with us your body, your mind, and your community goals. We do it every week, and let us know what you're planning, what you're hoping to achieve for this week, so you can look forward to it. So you ate. First of all, the sandwich sounds amazing.
It was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
It sounds pretty great. So you did not? Did you eat good food though? You had. I'm sure there were some moments. No. Okay. All right. Well.
No. My schedule is a little wacky with my work and school and stuff, so it was not conducive. But I think going into this week, I have more of an idea of how to react to that.
Yes.
So
interesting.
Hindsight 2020 or whatever it is. So I'll have a better idea going forward. So it's going to be the same goal, but with more of an understanding of how my life actually works.
That is that's a very realistic interpretation of what it is, because that it goes kind of in line with, I have a combined mind body one, which goes in line with what you're saying, because I really want to hunker down and kind of correct some of the stuff that I've been eating, not necessarily because I just know that I could do better. But one of my big problems is that with my wife and I, we try to we encourage each other's bad habits so much. We want to comfort each other. So like whenever someone's like, I want whatever, but immediately we're like, ooh, let's get this and let's eat comfortably and let's do the thing that indulges us, because it feels good.
It's always 2 dumb bitches saying exactly.
Yes, it's always whatever it is. It's like, we gotta. And you don't want to ruin anybody's vibe. You don't want to be like, I know you're excited for the cookies you want to eat, but you don't want to be the person to be like, well, maybe, so you don't want to be like the disciplinarian of the house. But also, I'm like, no, we got to. So my mind is calmed by not having to make the choice. So I will physically prepare as much of the good food to have in my fridge as possible. So for my body goal, it will then benefit my mind. So I'm going to do meal prep where the servings will already be in the fridge. So when it comes, every meal is predetermined. The snacks, whatever, we'll figure it out. But it won't be because we're hungry. It'll be because we are trying to, it'll be a craving. It won't be out of hunger.
Yeah.
Hunger will be satisfied by the good foods. And then the other, little dalliances in carbohydrates will happen because of other reasons. It won't be because that we're hungry. That's my goal. So prep as many of the proteins, the vegetables, like the servings of all the things that I want to eat, the legumes, and prepare all of that. Leave it in the fridge so that when it's breakfast time, lunchtime, dinner time, those meals are taken care of. And then having that will then translate over to keeping my mind focused on, well, if I have all of this stuff, I don't have to choose anything. This is just what's going to happen. It'll calm me down, because then I know I will have made the right choice in the moment. So that if I do get a little peckish, maybe I want a little snacky snack. Yeah,
the fun foods will actually be fun.
Yeah, the fun food. My wife brought up this video she saw. I wish. If she could send it to me, that'd be about delayed gratification versus instant gratification and the dopamine released.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of weight. I followed a diet that had a cheat day. Now I know that's not in the consensus these days, but it benefits me in the mental sense because delaying that gratification made the dopamine, that enjoyment of the bad food, guilt-free.
Yeah.
Which is it made it feel better to do, because I felt that it earned it, that concept of like, if I'm in the desert and I'm trekking through the desert, I'm hot, sandy, dry, whatever, and then I get to the someplace and someone's like, here's an ice cold Coca-Cola, and I drink it, that's gonna be like a magical experience, like when Homer Simpson bites into the rib witch for the first time. You ever seen that? You know what I'm talking about? Then they give you the second soda, and it will never be as good as that first one. It's the law of diminishing returns, right? Like that first one is going to be the fucking, oh my God, amazing. But the second one will. So I don't want to be motivated to eat 12 cookies. I want one really fucking good cookie experience.
Yeah.
I don't want to eat, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to have the guilt of weighing down the rush that would have been the enjoyment of something. You know what I'm saying?
I believe that's called dietary edging.
It's edging. It's totally edging.
You're gourmet gooning.
I'm gourmet. Good Lord, that's a horrific nightmare of a sentence. Fernando says, I just reached 194 pounds, 4 pounds lost this year so far. Good.
Nice,
Goal weight is 155.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. So this week's goals is to continue making small nutritional changes that add up, awesome incremental change, and to do at least one more workout than I did last week. I need to get back on meal prep. Makes such a big difference. Absolutely. Oh, good joke too. Would the second Coca-Cola be the law of fizzling out returns? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Fernando.
Yeah.
Fantastic. This is a great call. The small changes adding up over time. You talk about that all the time.
Oh yeah, that's a Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. You know, go for the small victories.
The small victories, yeah.
Celebrate the small victories.
Absolutely. And the idea of how you define a victory can also be, again, this is all subjective stuff. We're not in the spirit of like telling people what to do. We're empowering people to make the choices and then acting on them. That's kind of the goal. So good luck to you for that. Let us know how it goes. We record pretty much every Sunday, so tune back in, follow us, like, share, subscribe, and then you can we could keep us up to date. We love hearing about it. I hope the gentleman from last week, or the person from last week, joins us with his record bench. I was hoping he would jump in. In terms of mind, Will, what is your mind focus?
Mind focus is I need to taking this class. I think I mentioned it last week. Though a lot of people are not as informed as I thought they were going to be. I'm one of the more knowledgeable people in the classes, and I'm getting a little judgmental. Where it's like, how have you made it this far in life without these skills? And it's like, I can't. These people have lived their lives, and I can't have them meet my expectations of what a competent person is. Yeah. Like, I'm sure in other ways they're more competent than I am, so it's like, I need to, take a step back and quiet the ego and quiet the societal norm that I expect in people.
The meme of we listen and we do not judge. Yeah. That's tough, man. You're right. That is not an easy thing to do in the modern climate, because it is like the lack of media literacy or even reading comprehension is so low in this country. So it's like, how do you not whatever blah blah blah? But then you know what? Maybe there's somebody who didn't have a good education, had a bad home life, and their parents didn't teach them how to read. Their parents struggled with it, and then of course they took it out on the kid. So like to separate what got us here to where we are, those are two separate things. It's interesting, but that doesn't mean that you can't move forward in a positive way, which I always like the idea. If your mental goal, your mind goal for this week is to shed those like, or compartmentalize those two things, because you can't remove it entirely, but use their past experience to help guide their present. That's a benefit, like that's good. And if you can do that in a way that doesn't make it feel condescending, that's teaching, baby. That's learning, that's sharing, that's the community, really. That's the community aspect as well. See how it's all connected. Collateral Benefit, perfect name. I like that as well. I guess that goes into the community aspect of it all, because my community aspect for last week was to use that current UCB class to build relationships, to like get friendly with everybody.
Yeah.
And really remember what it was like to be a positive person, as opposed to like somebody who's been beaten down by the last 5 years, 10 years, really, if you think about it politically. What I feel like going to that stand-up class, I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't have sat there and chatted with some of the people in the class, and it's building. I want to continue that, but I do also, I want to take that into account, that not judging people's past, base them on their present, you know? Because if I truly want to, let's say politically conservative people are coming to, there's the whole leopards eating my own face. I feel like that's kind of a real condescending way to put stuff, to fuck around and find out. It's very condescending, as good as it feels.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's a bad, good feeling. Like it's a negative feeling that makes me feel good, is that it feels vindictive a little bit, to be like, oh, these motherfuckers are going to find out. Like that
Schadenfreude kind of.
Schadenfreude. I kind of want to remove that from the interactions I have with people outside of my own political sphere. You know what I mean? Like, so I guess to say, to expand on your life skills, how did you not learn how to do this, isn't to be about now, like, hey, let's just work on correcting some of this stuff. I have to then make those same allowances for a broader scope of things, right?
Yeah.
If someone's like, man, I'm sorry, if someone is truly repentant, I like the word repentance in the secular sense, because repentance is turning away from something that you know to be wrong, like that you turn away from it. If you're truly seeking forgiveness, you're repenting for behaviors. I have to, as a person who wants that for me and for the world to progress, to be a progressive is to allow others to progress past the thing that was holding them back.
Yeah.
So I have to then allow that for the people I do not like, that for people I disagree with. Like, one of the big problems in the left is about how condescending everybody feels. Like, oh, everyone's like, if you say the wrong word, people come after you and all that stuff. It's like, hey, bigger picture needs to be embraced. Like, it's fucking Nazis now. You can't, like we have to allow for some nuance in the conversation if the intent is correct. It comes from a good place. If there's a repentance from the negative, that kind of thing. So that it's interesting you say that for the life skills. I would just take that and broaden it out for the whole community in terms of even things I disagree with politically or morally, even.
Yeah.
Not to accept it, not to be tolerant of it, but to be like, hey, if you want to turn away from that, I gotta give you a safe place to land so that you don't fall right back into it.
Yeah. What was the biblical story? The son who returns, prodigal son.
The prodigal son, yeah. You can. That's my community goal. That's going to be a tall order. I'm not going to say I'm going to be successful 100%. There's a part of me that loves people freaking out over the thing that they voted for. I'm just like, oh man, I don't know how to respond to this without being a dick. But it's hard not to feel angry. But I want to channel that in the right way.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you got for your goals in your community outreach?
Community outreach, along the same lines, is one of my community goals from last week was in the class. I want to meet people, make conversation, make friends, kind of thing. And I went into that this week with that in mind. And this one guy was making some good jokes, but then he, by the end of the class, I was like, this guy seems like a piece of shit. So
yes.
Going into the community, it's to be more discerning about, I don't just have to be friends with this person just because they're in this class. I don't have to befriend this person because they're in my vicinity. I can still be picking and choosing based on my morals and who I want to surround myself with. Yeah, no, it's true. The idea that, like, there was something you posted about, like, a quote about
why do you, like someone who protested Vietnam, where it's like, why do you think you're going to affect change? It's like, no, I don't want the world to change me, So it's like, you can still be the good, cool, guy embracing of everybody who is not a dick. But that doesn't mean that when someone's a dick to you, you have to embrace them too. It's like, no, that would change me to do this. I do not approve of what's happening here. So I'm not going to, exactly what you said, like that post says, to have it change you.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you have to accept everything.
Yeah.
All these people. Yeah. Well, I think we nailed it. Great episode. Thank you, Fernando, for joining us. Where in the world are you, Fernando? That would be cool to know as well. You can like, share, and subscribe. The podcast, Zeros on Heroes. Let me bring up the thing. At Mike Mercadal, at William A. Watkins. You can follow us on Blue Sky. I'm on Pixel Fed, which is like the new Instagram thing. You should join it. It's like old school Instagram just for pictures. It almost feels like MySpace, where people are posting their like just different things. It's great. Of course, YouTube and Twitch as well. And you can send us emails. Old school. We love a traditional email. I think
we love a good chain letter.
We love a good email forward, as long as it's not mad racist. But send us your goals, your weekly goals for Mind, Body, and Community. We'll share with that. We'll share what you're doing on the show when we get them, and keep us up to date. If also, we're open to corrections. If we were wrong about something, please share it with us. If it's fitness related, if you believe that you have a differing opinion, share that with us as well. We love to hear points of view different than our own. And send that to zerosonheroes@gmail.com. Fernando is in Orlando currently, which makes your Donald mug even more interesting. Hey, all right. Yeah. Shout out to Donald, PTSD war survivor of the Disney catalog. But yeah, shout out to Fernando. Thanks for joining us. Please join us again next week, and we'd love to hear how your progress is going. Yeah. And Will, is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we go?
No, I just want to say you're looking good, bro.
I'm just trying to look like you, bro. Just trying to look like you. Thank you, everybody. Please go out and build your body, your mind, and your community, and make some progress. Everybody needs a little kindness out there in the world these days. Do remember to resist the negative, embrace the positive. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Start your week off right. Thank you, everybody. Remember to go out and be heroic.